Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to part 3 of my mammoth list of explorers slash travelers. And this is the last 10. We ended yesterday with John Hanning Speak, and that was what the thumbnail was, so it seems to be a theme. So the last one here today will be today's thumbnail. Now, we start with Isabella Bird, an English lady, born 1831, lived to 1904. She was basically, for health reasons, she was told she needed to do some traveling, sea voyage. So I think the first place she went was America, and she traveled through there, the Rocky Mountains, and then she wound up traveling all over the world, Hawaii, Australia. I don't think she had too much to say or liked Australia too much from what I remember. And yeah, just traveling everywhere around the Hebrides as well, and she's more, I guess, a traveler than an explorer, so much. But she was exploring the places that she went to for herself. But I think we're getting into sort of more traveler sort of area because these are all populated areas that she was, well, westernly populated, I suppose. Uh, so interesting stuff. I've not read as much as I could about her and by her. Uh, so the next one is Henry Morton Stanley, 1841 to 1904. Now this is going back to Africa. He was, I think, he's Welsh born, but became a journalist in the second half of the 19th century in the United States, like in the 1860s or 70s, 60s, I think, post Civil War. American Civil War, that is. And he was working for a newspaper, and he was asked to find Livingston, David Livingston. So they mounted or paid for an expedition for him to find Livingston. And while most explorers or travelers in Africa would take things to trade, and sort of almost buy their way through maybe semi-hostile or areas with groups there that may not want them to come through, or hire other guides to sort of smooth the way for them. He used a gun. Simple. Like I mean, that's just not simple, but I mean, it's that's a simple way to put it. That he did had he was not a nice guy. Let's put it this way. And he was also like he did do something. He did find Livingston, and the the line is Dr. Livingston, I presume. And he wrote about this in a couple volumes. And then he was also hired by King Leopold. There's a book that I need to read. It's um, well, it's about the Congo. It's King Leopold, I think, is in the title of the book that I do want to read sometime. A bit of a horrendous place in many ways. Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness sort of touches on stuff there. But basically, Henry Morton Stanley was hired to sort of pave the way for that to happen. So yeah, not a nice person, but an interesting is it's like interesting writings and everything. So not to be allotted, not my favorite explorer for moral reasons or anything like that, but he's one of explorer I like reading his work and about him. I probably did say 1841 to 1904 he lived. Mary Kingsley, 1862 to 1900. Very interesting. She traveled and explored in West Africa. She wrote mainly two books, which I am going to reread next. Well, hopefully for August of Adventures. Uh, and she talked about the culture and as well. And She only really published 2 books. I think maybe something else that was a sort of a one of them was actually posthumously, I think, printed. But anyway, they're just very, very interesting stuff, and I'd love to have her letters exist, but they've never been published, as far as I know. They'd be interesting, I think. Then we go to a little bit south, a little bit. Robert Falcon Scott, 1868 to 1912. 2 expeditions to find to get to the South Pole, but he was pipped to the pole by Adamson, and by, I don't know, however many, a month or so, or a month and a half, and he died sort of in the process of this on the second expedition, the Terra Nova expedition, I think it was called, the name of the ship, and he was found. The whole team was found in a tent on the snow, dead, and with his journal. So the bodies were left, and they're still there. They're still there in their tent, and they're slowly moving, I think, out into sea. They might have actually melted by now, but they may not have. I don't know how far the ice has receded. So, but it was moving out to off the area where they were. But they'd been there for 100 years, basically, or more. And it's got the famous line from Oates. What is it now? Oh, sorry. I'm going outside. I may be sometime, or something like that. And he just walked off into the snow to give everybody else sort of maybe a chance to live with more rations. Harsh. Then we got Gertrude Bell, 1868 to 1926. Very, very interesting. I've got 2 volumes I've thankfully got for a present. Oh, it was my birthday present, I think, or one of my birthday presents this year. They're rough, but they're hard to find. Her 2-volume letters that were put together by her mother, so they're expunged a little bit, I think, and very selective. It has been, like, there was a Pelican 2-volume. It was meant to be 3-volume edition of those, culled from those 2 volumes, but I don't think there's been anything else done, like a full, complete collection of her letters, even if they exist. But the family might have done a few things with them. But she was also a spy, an archaeologist, basically, too, along with T. Lawrence, and helped create I guess, contributed to issues that would eventually happen in the Middle East. But I don't think not knowingly, it definitely from sort of a British perspective, she definitely was. But she was very smart. She knew Arabic and languages inside out, and she was instrumental in the modern state of Iraq, and the museum, creation of the museum there as well. Delia Akeley, I think it is, 1869 to 1970. I don't know that much about her. I've read little bits that were kind of interesting. She and her husband, I think it was, that they went to Africa. She was a big game hunter, but they collected specimens for the Natural History Museum in Washington. I think it was for in Washington, and did quite a bit travel. Like this is sort of traveling stuff, but now I'm getting mixed up between 2 here. I gotta check now, because my memory now is faulty for one of them, because one of them did something kind of neat in her, and this is the why she's there, why she's on my list. Bear with me. Yes, she is the one. Yeah. She wrote sort of memoirs, and one was a that I read. It's a bit strange. It's like a memoir, or well, I'm reading it from this. This is the best way for me to explain it. I'm reading it from Wikipedia. She was one of the first authors to write a non-anthropomorphic but psychological, insightful biography of another primate. Biography of an J.T. Jr., the biography of an African monkey. Odd. Let's just put it that way. Odd. And that's the one I read, and I think I read one of her memoirs as well. So that's why I said not that, but it was that was so interesting that always kept in my mind. But I always confused her with somebody else for some reason. And then we got Ernest Shackleton, again going south, 1874 to 1922. He was actually on the first expedition of Scott. Discovery, but his hut, the Shackleton's hut, is still there. It's like it's a World Heritage Site. Everything's preserved because of the. Oh well, we'll see how it lasts in the new climate that's coming up. But and I believe his it was the Endurance, the ship, and I think it's his book is still in print by Penguin and or in other publishers as well. Well, maybe even Scott's journals are easily available, but it's definitely in a Penguin, or was Shackleton's. And then we got Charlotte Mansfield, who lived from 1881 to 1936. These are the two with the Akeley that I get sort of mixed up with. I don't know why I do these two. That Charlotte Mansfield, though, was mainly an author. Well, she was obviously an author, but wrote a lot of novels. But what she was mainly known for was, famous for exploring, I guess, and travel, was she attempted a travel by herself to go from Cape Town to Cairo. I don't think it was the other way around, but I think it was Cape Town to Cairo. She never completed it, but she also wrote a lot of books that were set in sort of southern African area, Rhodesia and so forth, and her travels and talk around that time, around the area of Rhodesia, South Africa, which was very interesting. 1881 to 1936. Another one of my favorites here too is Freya Stark, 1893 to 1993. Yes, she lived to 100 years old. I'm really happy to see occasionally booktubers show her books, and Felicity at my house, the library, is a fan of her work as well. She wrote dozens. When I say dozens, probably she wrote like 20 to, let's say 27 books, somewhere around that, with photography, photos, and really good descriptions through, mostly through the Middle East. I'm trying to think of the name one. The Valley of the Assassins is a big name, and I'm blanking on some of the other titles of some of the other, but her photography is just fabulous. And over the years, there's been reprints of some just her photography as well as her books. I am no way have read everything. I've read maybe 10 of her books, and that's a fraction. That's way less than half of what she wrote. There's I think about a 10-volume or 8 to 10 volume set of her letters that I've been drooling over for a decade or more. I know I can get them, but they're very expensive. It's like they're like about $300 and some US, and like £200 or something like that or more. But they would be fascinating, yeah. And we finish on Wilfred Thesiger. I always have trouble pronouncing it, but he lived from 1910 to 2003. He was a soldier, but he also explored and traveled around Arabia. The Empty Quarter is his big one, and Marsh Arabs is another one. And photographer as well. All his photography, as far as I know, is at the Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford. And if you go to their site, you can, I think, order any print of any photograph that's in the archive there. When I was actually, it was the last time I was in Oxford. We're talking 8-9 years ago, I think, and they had a little display of his stuff, and I think that was when they were finally, like, they had finally cataloged maybe everything. I'm not sure, but it was new for there. It was a special room that had everything, and then, you know, even in the gift shop, I think you could buy a few things. So yeah, so really, those are the ones that I remember reading. Is the Empty Quarter and the Marsh Arabs, and there's another one, but I can't think of the name. I'm blanking on. But again, this stuff, my memory is faulty, so if I do speak about a fact here or something like that, I do hope you. I apologize for it, but I hope you take it with a grain of salt. You can easily find all the information. I'll put their names down again at the in the description. And Wilfred Thesiger, I guess. I'll see if I can find a photograph of him and pop it in as the thumbnail for this video. So that's the end at the moment of my top sort of lists. I don't think there's anything else that I sort of had in sort of in progress or thought of. So do chime out if you want to see these, or if you're tired of these, then yeah, just let me know. But if there's something else that I've had an interest in, I could probably do this. It might take me a little while longer to sort of dig through memories like this one did. I just sort of started writing down all the explorers, travelers that I like, and I got so many, and then I realized some of them, well, they've actually not written anything, and I haven't read anything specifically by them, so I kept knocking those out and then put dates in and ordered them. So that's what took a while for this one. But anyway, I've enjoyed this. I've gone back through some nice memories of reading all these explorers to greater or lesser degree for everyone. And now is the time to ask, do you have a favorite travel writer / explorer? Who is yours? Are any of them on the list here? I'm sure this will be answered or talked about in previous videos as well. But if you haven't chimed out, do so in the comments. And also suggest anything else that you'd like to see if you're not tired of these. I'm game. Talk to you later, BookTube.